You know that moment when your own mother looks you dead in the eye and basically tells you you're not good enough? Yeah, that happened to me 3 weeks ago. My mom, she pulls me aside and says, Emma, sweetie, I think it's better if I handle your father's 65th birthday dinner. You know, somewhere really nice, somewhere classy. She actually did the air quotes thing when she said classy, like, I wouldn't know what that word meant. Now, here's the kicker. She'd already picked out this super expensive steakhouse downtown. The kind of place where they don't put prices on the menu and you need a reservation 6 months in advance. She was convinced I'd somehow embarrass the family if I tried to plan something sophisticated. But you know what they say about assumptions, right? Fast forward 3 weeks. We're walking into my dad's birthday celebration, and the moment we step through those doors, every single staff member starts greeting me with, Good evening, boss. The hostess practically bows. The manager rushes over with this huge smile. And my mother. Her jaw just drops, like literally drops. Because turns out the daughter she thought couldn't afford the fancy restaurant actually owns one of the most exclusive hotels in downtown Chicago. This is the story of how one dinner party completely shattered everything. My family thought they knew about who I really am. But let me back up and paint you the full picture here. The Walker family, that's us. We live in this picture-perfect suburb about 30 minutes outside Chicago. White picket fence, manicured lawn, the whole American dream package. My parents, Olivia and Mark, they're good people. Don't get me wrong, but they've always had this very specific vision of success. And that vision had a name. Claire. My older sister. Claire was the golden child from day one. Straight A's debate team captain, full ride to Northwestern for pre-law. Now she's this hotshot corporate attorney pulling in 6 figures and dating some investment banker named Bradley who wears bow ties unironically. Every family dinner, it's Claire this, Claire that. Claire just made partner. Claire's buying a condo in Lincoln Park. Claire's probably going to run for Congress someday. And then there was me, Emma, the hospitality major. I'll never forget the day I told them I wanted to study hotel management. My dad actually laughed. Not mean-spirited, just confused. He goes, Emma, honey, you want to make beds for a living. And my mom, she gets this worried look and starts talking about backup plans and maybe considering business administration instead. But here's the thing. I knew what I wanted from the time I was 12 years old. We took this family vacation to this boutique hotel in Napa Valley, and I was absolutely mesmerized. The way the concierge remembered everyone's names, how the staff anticipated what guests needed before they even asked, the way every single detail was orchestrated to create this perfect experience. It was like watching magic happen. So, yeah, I studied hospitality at Roosevelt University. Not Ivy League like Claire, but you know what? I didn't care. While she was buried in law books, I was working 3 jobs. Mornings at a coffee shop downtown, afternoons at the front desk of a Holiday Inn, weekends catering weddings. My parents kept asking when I was going to get serious about my future. Little did they know I was building it. My hospitality professor, Dr. Martinez, he became like a mentor to me. He'd worked for Marriott for 20 years before teaching, and he saw something in me that my family couldn't. He'd stay after class teaching me about revenue management, guest psychology, the business side that most people never see. He used to say, Emma, the hospitality industry isn't about making beds, it's about making memories. And memories, that's where the real money is. By graduation, I had more real-world experience than half my classmates and connections throughout the Chicago hotel scene. But when I walked across that stage, my parents were proud but also kind of confused. Like, okay, honey, you graduated now. What's your real plan? That was 5 years ago. And let me tell you, I had a plan. They just never thought to ask what it was. So that plan I mentioned, it started with me being the most eager intern Chicago had ever seen. I landed this internship at the Intercontinental downtown right after graduation. Bottom of the food chain, making copies, fetching coffee, the whole deal. But I wasn't just going through the motions. I was watching everything. how they handled VIP guests, why some nights were completely booked while others had empty rooms, what made guests complain, versus what made them leave five-star reviews. 3 months in, I noticed something nobody else was paying attention to. We had this recurring problem with guest checkout times. People were missing flights, getting charged extra fees, basically having their entire last day ruined because our checkout process was a nightmare. The front desk staff was drowning, guests were furious, and management just kept saying that's how it's always been done. So I did something that probably should have gotten me fired. I spent my lunch breaks for 2 weeks tracking every single checkout timing, how long each step took, talking to guests about their experience. Then, I put together this presentation, showing how we could redesign the whole process and cut checkout time in half. I was terrified to present it. Here I am, a 22-year-old intern about to tell senior management how to run their business. But Dr. Martinez's voice was in my head. The hospitality industry is about solving problems before people know they have them. The regional manager loved it. Not only did they implement my system, but they offered me a full-time position as Assistant Guest Experience Manager. At 22 years old, I was making decisions that affected thousands of guests every month. But here's where it gets interesting. Working at Intercontinental taught me something crucial about luxury hospitality. It's not about how much money you spend on marble countertops or Egyptian cotton sheets. It's about anticipation. It's about making every single guest feel like they're the only person who matters in that moment. I spent 3 years there, getting promoted twice, learning every aspect of hotel operations. But I also realized something else. I didn't want to be managing someone else's vision. I wanted to create my own. The idea for the Orion started during a business trip to New York. I was staying at this boutique hotel in Soho, and it hit me like lightning. Chicago had all these massive chain hotels and these tiny bed and breakfasts, but nothing in between. No intimate luxury property that could give you the personal service of a boutique with the amenities of a five-star resort. So I started researching. Turns out there was this historic building in River North that had been sitting empty for 2 years. Former bank building, incredible architecture, perfect location. The owner was desperate to sell, and I saw potential where everyone else saw problems. Now, let me be real with you. I had some savings, but nowhere near enough to buy a building in downtown Chicago. This is where most people would give up or go ask their parents for money. But I had something better than money. I had a track record and a vision. I spent 6 months putting together the most detailed business plan you've ever seen. Revenue projections, market analysis, operational workflows, everything. Then I started pitching to investors. And I got rejected. A lot. 28 times to be exact. But number 29 said yes. Then 30. Then 31. It took me almost a year, but I finally had enough backing to make an offer on the building. The first 2 years nearly killed me. We opened with a skeleton crew. I was working 16-hour days, handling everything from marketing to maintenance. Our occupancy rate was terrible. We were hemorrhaging money, and there were nights I honestly thought we'd have to close. But then something shifted. Word started getting out about this little hotel where the owner actually knew your name, where they remembered you, liked your coffee black, and your room temperature exactly 72 degrees. Our online reviews went from 3 stars to 4.8 practically overnight. Corporate clients started booking us for their visiting executives. Wedding parties chose us for their out-of-town guests. Food bloggers discovered our restaurant. And suddenly, the Orion wasn't just surviving, we were thriving. Last year, we had a 93% occupancy rate, and we're booked solid for the next 6 months. Travel and Leisure named us one of the top boutique hotels in the Midwest. We have a waiting list for our premium suites. But here's the crazy part. My family had no idea. To them, I was just Emma who worked at some hotel downtown. They knew I had my own place and I seemed to be doing okay, but they figured I was probably an assistant manager or something. They never asked for details, and honestly, I stopped offering them. Because why would you share your biggest accomplishments with people who never believed you could accomplish them in the first place? Which brings us to 3 weeks ago when everything came to a head. My dad's 65th birthday was coming up, and my mom created this family group chat to plan the celebration. You know how these things go. Lots of ideas flying around, everyone trying to coordinate schedules, the usual chaos. Claire immediately suggests this steakhouse she knows downtown. Prime 65 or something like that. Super exclusive, impossible to get reservations, the kind of place where you spend $400 and leave still hungry. Classic Claire always going for the most expensive option to prove a point. But then I throw out an idea. What about the Orion? They have this beautiful private dining room, amazing food, and it's actually in a really convenient location for everyone. The group chat goes quiet for like 10 minutes. Then my mom responds, "Oh, honey, that's sweet of you to suggest, but isn't the Orion a bit out of your price range? I looked it up online and their dinner packages are pretty steep. Plus, your father has been wanting to try Prime 65 anyway." I'm reading this message, and I honestly don't know whether to laugh or cry. But then Claire chimes in with her 2 cents. "Yeah, maybe we should stick with something more realistic for your budget. I know you're doing well with your hotel job, but the Orion is seriously expensive. We don't want you to stress about money on Dad's birthday. Your hotel job, like I'm some front desk clerk earning $15 an hour." But here's the thing. Part of me was actually curious to see how far they'd take this. So instead of correcting them, I decided to play along. "You know what? You're probably right, but I'd really love to help with the planning. What if I call the Orion and see if they have any more affordable options? Maybe they have some kind of family package or something." My mom loves this idea because now she gets to feel good about including me, while still assuming I can't actually afford anything nice. She tells me to go ahead and make the call, but to make sure I'm upfront about our budget constraints. So I call the Orion, except instead of talking to reservations, I call my assistant manager Lucas directly. Lucas has been with me since almost the beginning. He started as a server and worked his way up to basically running the day-to-day operations. Super sharp guy, great with people, and absolutely loyal. When I explain the situation to him, he immediately gets what I'm trying to do. We set up this whole elaborate plan. He's going to treat me like any other customer making a reservation. Professional, but not overly familiar. I'm going to book our mid-tier private dining package, which is nice, but not over the top. And most importantly, none of the staff is going to acknowledge that I'm the owner until I give them the signal. I also loop in Sophia, our head of guest services. She's been with us for 2 years, and she's incredible at reading situations. I tell her exactly what's happening, and she's immediately on board. She suggests we have some fun with it. When I call Lucas back with my family listening in, he plays his part perfectly. "Good afternoon. Thank you for calling the Orion. This is Lucas speaking. How may I assist you today?" I ask about availability for a party of 6 for my father's birthday, and he puts me on hold for just long enough to make it seem like he's checking the system. Then he comes back with options for our garden room package, which includes a 3-course meal and complimentary champagne toast. The price he quotes is reasonable, but still sounds impressive enough to make my family think I'm splurging. My mom is literally making hand gestures at me while I'm on the phone mouthing, "Are you sure you can afford this?" I confirm the reservation and hang up. Then I turn to my family with this big smile and say, "All set, Dad's going to love it." My mom gives me this look that's half proud, half worried. "Emma, sweetie, are you absolutely sure about this? We could always split the cost if you need help." And that's when I know this is going to be even better than I thought. Because not only do they think I can't afford this dinner, they're already planning to swoop in and save me from my own financial irresponsibility. I tell them not to worry, that I've been saving up for something special like this, which is technically true, just not in the way they think. The reservation is set for Saturday night, 3 weeks away. Just enough time for me to coordinate with my team and make sure every single detail is perfect. Because if my family wants a show, I'm going to give them one they'll never forget. The week before the dinner, things got interesting. I'm at my parents' house for our usual Sunday family lunch when Claire decides to bring up the reservation. She's been stewing about it for 2 weeks, and apparently she just can't hold it in anymore. We're sitting around the kitchen table, and out of nowhere she goes, "Emma, I've been thinking about Dad's birthday dinner. Are you really sure the Orion is the right choice?" I can tell by her tone she's not actually asking about the venue. She's questioning whether I can handle it financially. So I play innocent. "What do you mean I thought you guys liked the idea of somewhere nice?" Claire exchanges this look with my mom like they've been talking about this behind my back, which, knowing them, they probably have. "It's not that we don't think it's nice," Claire says, setting down her fork and giving me her full attorney attention. "It's just that the Orion is seriously expensive, Em." I looked up their menu online and entrees start at like $60. Before drinks, before tax, before tip. We're talking about potentially $1,000 dinner here. She says this like she's doing me some huge favor by pointing out math I obviously can't do myself. My dad jumps in trying to smooth things over. "Girls, it's my birthday, and honestly, I'd be happy with pizza and beer if it means we're all together." But Claire's not letting this go. She leans forward and looks me right in the eye. "Emma, where exactly are you planning to get $1,000 for this dinner? I know you work at a hotel. But let's be realistic here. You're what, an assistant manager? That's maybe 50,000 a year if you're lucky. After rent and bills and everything else, do you really have that kind of disposable income?" The kitchen goes completely silent. My mom is staring at her plate, clearly uncomfortable, but not stopping Claire. My dad is looking back and forth between us like he's watching a tennis match. And I realize this is it. This is the moment where I could end this whole charade right now. I could tell them exactly who I am and what I've accomplished. I could show them my bank statements, my business licenses, the deed to the Orion building. But something stops me. Maybe it's curiosity about how far they'll take this. Maybe it's the fact that they've never once asked me directly about my life or my career. Or maybe it's just that I want to see their faces when the truth finally comes out. So instead, I just smile and say, "Don't worry about it, Claire. I've got it handled." She's clearly not satisfied with this answer, but before she can push further, I change the subject to Dad's favorite dessert and whether we should order a cake. Later, as I'm getting ready to leave, my mom pulls me aside. "Honey," she says in this gentle voice that somehow makes everything worse. "You know, your father and I could help with the cost if you need it. We don't want you to put yourself in a difficult financial position just to impress us. Put myself in a difficult financial position to impress them. Like this dinner is some desperate attempt to prove I'm successful, instead of just a daughter wanting to celebrate her father's birthday." I tell her the same thing I told Claire, that I've got it handled and not to worry. But as I'm driving home, I realize something important. This isn't really about money at all. It's about respect. It's about the fact that after 5 years of building a business from nothing, my own family still sees me as the little sister who needs to be protected from her own poor decisions. Well, Saturday night is going to change all that. I call Lucas as soon as I get home. "How's our preparation going for the Walker reservation?" I ask. He laughs. "Emma, we've been planning this like it's a state dinner. Sophia has the entire front of house staff briefed. We've got contingency plans for contingency plans. Your family is going to get the full Orion experience." "Good," I tell him, because something tells me we're only going to get one shot at this. And I want it to be perfect. Saturday night finally arrives, and I'm honestly more nervous than I've been since my first investor pitch. I get to the Orion 2 hours early to make sure everything is absolutely perfect. The garden room looks incredible. Sophia has outdone herself with the table setting, fresh flowers, ambient lighting, the works. But I'm not taking any chances. I disappear into my office and pull up the security cameras so I can watch everything unfold in real time. My family shows up at exactly 6:30. They're dressed to the nines, which tells me they're taking this seriously despite all their concerns about my finances. My dad looks genuinely excited. Mom's in her best dress, and Claire is wearing this black cocktail dress that probably cost more than most people's rent. I watch on the monitors as Lucas greets them at the front entrance. He's playing his part perfectly professional but warm, treating them like VIP guests without being too over the top. Good evening, you must be the Walker party. We've been expecting you. Right this way, please. As they're walking through the lobby, I can see my mom looking around with this impressed but confused expression, like she can't quite figure out how her supposedly broke daughter managed to book a place this nice. But Claire, she's doing her thing. Even through the security cameras, I can see her examining everything with this critical eye. She stops at the hostess station, and I can tell she's asking questions about the hotel, probably trying to figure out exactly how much this is costing me. Then they get to the garden room, and I watch my dad's face completely light up. The man loves good food and nice ambiance, and Sophia has delivered on both. There's a personalized menu with his name on it, a bottle of champagne already chilling on the table, and a small Happy 65th birthday sign that's elegant without being cheesy. But here's where it gets interesting. My mom immediately starts inspecting the room like she's a food critic or something. She's checking out the flowers, running her finger along the table edge, looking at the wine glasses. And then she does something that honestly surprises me. She walks over to Lucas and starts asking about the room rate. "Excuse me," she says in this sweet but determined voice. "This is a lovely space. I'm just curious for future reference. What does a private dining experience like this typically cost?" Lucas doesn't miss a beat. He gives her this perfect response that Sophia and I rehearsed. "Well, ma'am, our garden room packages vary depending on the menu selection and group size. For a party of 6 with our standard 3-course menu, we're looking at about $120 per person, including service charge." I'm watching my mom do the math in her head. 6 people times $120. That's over $700, not including drinks or tip. I can literally see her starting to panic about my financial situation. Meanwhile, Claire has cornered one of our servers, and she's grilling him about the hotel's amenities. She wants to know about room rates, occupancy, whether we're part of a chain. The poor guy is handling it like a champ, but I can tell he's confused about why this dinner guest is interrogating him about business operations. Then Sophia appears, and this is where the real show begins. She approaches the table with this perfect balance of attentiveness and discretion. She introduces herself as the guest services manager and explains that she'll be personally overseeing their dining experience this evening. Claire immediately tries to assert dominance like she does with everyone in service positions. "This is a beautiful hotel," she says in this condescending tone. "How long have you been in business here?" Sophia smiles politely. "We opened 4 years ago. We're an independently owned boutique property, which allows us to provide a more personalized experience than some of the larger chains." "And who owns it?" Claire presses. "A local entrepreneur who's really passionate about Chicago hospitality," Sophia responds smoothly. "They've built something really special here." I'm sitting in my office watching this whole exchange, and I have to admire Sophia's skill. She's giving Claire just enough information to satisfy her nosiness without revealing anything important. And the way she says local entrepreneur with just the slightest emphasis makes me wonder if she's dropping hints that only I would catch. My dad, meanwhile, is completely oblivious to all this investigation. He's already ordered a cocktail, and he's reading through the menu with genuine enthusiasm. Every few minutes, he points something out to my mom, talking about how nice everything is and how thoughtful I am for planning this. But my mom is still stuck on the cost. When Sophia walks by, she flags her down. "Excuse me, dear," my mother says in her most polite voice. "I hope you don't mind me asking, but is there any kind of family discount or special rate for the dining package? My daughter arranged this for us, and I just want to make sure she's not overspending." And that's when I realize my mother is literally trying to negotiate a discount on a dinner I'm paying for at a hotel I own. The irony is so thick I could cut it with a knife. Sophia handles it beautifully. "Actually," she says with a warm smile, Your daughter specifically requested our garden room experience, and I have to say, she has excellent taste. We don't typically offer discounts on our signature packages, but we do occasionally make exceptions for very special occasions. Let me see what I can do. She disappears for a few minutes, presumably to check with management, which is actually just her going to the back hallway and waiting long enough to make it seem realistic. Oi! When she comes back, she has this pleased expression. Good news, she tells my mom. Since this is such a milestone birthday, and your daughter was so lovely to work with during the planning process, we're able to offer a 15% courtesy reduction on the final bill. I watch my mom's shoulders literally relax with relief. A 15% discount on a $700 dinner means she thinks I'm only paying about $600 instead of the full amount. Still expensive by her standards, but not completely irresponsible. What she doesn't know is that this entire dinner, including the champagne, the flowers, the special menu, and Sophia's dedicated service, is costing me exactly $0 because I own the place. But the best part is watching Claire's reaction to all this. She's clearly frustrated that her attempts to find fault with the service or the venue aren't working. Everything is genuinely excellent because my team is genuinely excellent. The food is outstanding, the ambiance is perfect, and the service is flawless. About an hour into dinner, I decide it's time to make my entrance. I've been watching from the cameras long enough, and frankly, I'm excited to see their faces when they realize I'm not hiding in the bathroom because I can't afford the bill. I take the elevator down from my office and walk through the lobby toward the garden room, my heart pounding with anticipation. Because this is it. This is the moment everything changes. I walk into the main lobby and immediately spot my family through the glass doors of the garden room. They're halfway through their entrees, and my dad is clearly having the time of his life. But as I'm crossing the lobby toward their private dining room, something unexpected happens. Claire sees me coming and she gets up from the table. She walks out of the dining room and intercepts me right in the middle of the lobby. "Emma, where have you been?" she asks, but not in a concerned way. More like she's annoyed that I've been absent from a dinner I organized. I was just taking care of something, I tell her. Is everything okay with dinner? But before I can take another step toward the dining room, my mom appears beside Claire, and I can tell immediately that something has shifted. They both look stressed, and they're positioning themselves between me and the garden room like they're blocking my path. "Emma, honey," my mom says in this urgent whisper, "we need to talk." "What's wrong?" I ask, genuinely confused by their behavior. Claire jumps in. "We've been thinking about this whole situation, and honestly, we're a little concerned. This place is really expensive, Em. Like really expensive. And some of the staff have been asking questions about payment and billing procedures." My mom nods along. The manager mentioned something about settling the account. "And, sweetie, we don't want you to get in over your head here. This is a beautiful dinner, but if you can't actually afford it, we need to figure something out before this becomes embarrassing." I'm standing there in the middle of my own hotel lobby, listening to my mother and sister explain to me why I can't afford to be there. The irony is so overwhelming, I almost start laughing. But then Claire says something that stops me cold. "Look, Emma, we appreciate what you're trying to do here, but let's be honest, you work at a hotel, you don't own one. And this whole thing is starting to feel like you're trying to prove something that just isn't true. We don't want you to embarrass yourself, or frankly, embarrass us. Embarrass them. My own family thinks I'm some kind of fraud who's about to get kicked out of a restaurant for not being able to pay the bill." I'm about to respond when I hear footsteps behind me. "Excuse me, is there a problem here?" I turn around and Lucas is standing there with this perfectly professional expression, but I can see the barely contained amusement in his eyes. Claire immediately jumps into damage control mode. "Oh no, no problem at all. We were just discussing the dinner arrangements with my sister here. She's the one who made the reservation." Lucas nods politely. "Yes, of course. Ms. Walker is one of our most valued guests. Actually, my mom interjects, we were wondering if we could speak with a manager about the billing situation. We want to make sure everything is properly arranged before the evening concludes." And that's when Lucas delivers the line that changes everything. Oh, I think there might be some confusion here. Miss Walker owns this hotel. The lobby goes completely silent, like dead silent. I can hear the background music playing and the distant sound of conversation from the restaurant, but my mother and Claire are just frozen. I'm sorry what Claire finally manages to say. Ms. Walker is the owner and CEO of the Orion Lucas, repeats calmly. Has been for the past 4 years. Before anyone can respond, Sophia appears beside me like she materialized out of thin air. She's carrying herself with this formal elegance that I've seen her use with our most important clients. Good evening, Ms. Walker, she says with a slight bow of her head. I trust everything has been satisfactory this evening. Your family seems to be enjoying the garden room experience. The way she says Ms. Walker with this tone of respect and deference makes it crystal clear to anyone within earshot that I'm not just another customer. My mother's mouth is literally hanging open. Claire looks like someone just told her that gravity doesn't exist. But I'm not done yet. Because if we're doing this, we're doing it right. Sophia, I say in my business voice, would you mind checking on the table? I want to make sure my father's birthday celebration is everything he hoped it would be. Of course, Ms. Walker. Should I have the sommelier bring up the reserve wine selection for the birthday toast? That would be perfect. Thank you. As Sophia glides away, other staff members start appearing in the lobby. Marcus from the front desk walks by and nods respectfully. Evening, Ms. Walker. The weekend occupancy reports are on your desk whenever you're ready to review them. Then, our head chef David emerges from the restaurant area. Ms. Walker, the birthday cake is ready for table 12 whenever you'd like us to present it. And I wanted to personally thank you for allowing us to prepare the special menu this evening. Each interaction is like another piece of evidence that my family can't deny. I'm not just someone who works here. I'm not just someone who can afford to eat here. I own this place. My mother finally finds her voice. Emma, she whispers, you own this hotel. I nod. Have for 4 years now. We opened with 12 employees and now we have over 60. Last month we were featured in Travel and Leisure as one of Chicago's premier boutique properties. Claire is still processing. But how did we not know this? Because you never asked? I tell her simply. Every time we talked about my job, you assumed I was an assistant manager or a front desk clerk. You never once asked what I actually do or how my business is going. My mom reaches out and touches my arm. Honey, I had no idea. I thought you were just working for someone else. I thought you were struggling financially. I know you did, Mom. That's exactly the problem. The lobby is starting to fill up with evening guests, and I realize we're creating a scene. But honestly, I don't care. Because for the first time in 5 years, my family is seeing me for who I actually am instead of who they assumed I was. Lucas steps forward discreetly. Ms. Walker, should I have your family move to the VIP lounge where you can continue this conversation more privately? No, I tell him with a smile. I think we should go back to the garden room and finish celebrating Dad's birthday. After all, that's what tonight was supposed to be about. As we walk back toward the private dining room, I can see my father through the glass doors. He's sitting at the table completely oblivious to the drama that just unfolded, probably wondering where everyone went. And as we approach the table, I realize that everything is about to change. Not just for tonight, but for my relationship with my family going forward. Because now they know the truth. And there's no going back. As we're walking back toward the garden room, my mother suddenly stops in the middle of the lobby. Emma, she says, and her voice is completely different now. Smaller, more vulnerable. I owe you an enormous apology. She looks down at her hands, and for the first time in years, I see my mother looking genuinely ashamed of herself. I have been so incredibly wrong about you, and I don't even know where to begin making up for it. All those times I questioned your decisions, all those comments about your career, about your finances, I thought I was being helpful, but I was just being condescending. Claire is standing next to her, looking like she's still trying to process what just happened. She keeps looking around the lobby like she's seeing it for the first time, which in a way she is. This is really yours, she asks, and there's none of her usual attorney confidence in her voice. Like you actually built this from the ground up, I tell her. Bought the building when it was an abandoned bank, renovated, it hired the staff, developed the brand. Everything you see here, every single detail, came from my vision and my work. As we're talking, I notice how differently the staff is treating our group now. When we walked in earlier, they were professional and courteous to my family. Now they're professional and courteous to my family, but there's this clear deference toward me that wasn't there before. Our hostess Maria approaches us with a warm smile. Ms. Walker, your father has been asking where everyone went. Should I let him know you'll be rejoining him shortly? Yes. Please tell him we're on our way back, I respond. And Maria, would you ask David to prepare the birthday cake presentation? I think it's time. Of course, Ms. Walker. Right away. The difference in her tone when she's talking to me versus when she acknowledged my family earlier is subtle, but unmistakable. It's the difference between serving customers and reporting to your boss. My mom notices it too. As Maria walks away, she turns to me with this expression of wonder. They all know you, she says. Really know you. This isn't just a job for you. This is your life's work. It is, I tell her. And it has been for the past 4 years. While you and Dad were asking when I was going to get a real job, I was building this. Claire finally speaks up and her voice is uncharacteristically quiet. Emma, I feel like such an idiot. All those times I talked down to you about money and career choices, all those comments about being realistic and practical. You were already more successful than I realized I had any right to be. We start walking toward the garden room again, and I can see my father through the glass checking his watch and looking around for us. But I also notice how every staff member we pass acknowledges me. Our sommelier Patrick stops briefly to confirm the wine selection for the birthday toast. A server named Jennifer asks if I need anything for the table. Even the busboy gives me a respectful nod as he walks by with a tray. Each interaction reinforces the same reality that my family is still struggling to accept. This isn't just where I work. This is my domain. As we reach the entrance to the garden room, Sophia reappears with perfect timing. Ms. Walker, she says, addressing me directly while including my family in her warm smile. Your table is ready for the cake presentation whenever you'd like to proceed. And I've arranged for our photographer to capture the birthday moment if that's something you'd be interested in. That would be wonderful, Sophia. Thank you for thinking of that. My pleasure, Ms. Walker. Anything for family. The way she says anything for family while looking at my parents and Claire sends a clear message. These people, my people, will move mountains for me, and by extension for anyone I care about. My mom reaches out and squeezes my hand as we're about to enter the dining room. I'm so proud of you, she whispers, and I'm so sorry it took me this long to see what you've accomplished. Claire nods in agreement. Emma, this is incredible. You've built something really special here. As we walk back into the garden room, my father looks up with this big smile. There you are. I was starting to think you'd all abandon me for a better party somewhere else. If only he knew that the real party had been happening in the lobby while he was enjoying his dinner. But that's the beautiful thing about my dad. He's genuinely happy just to have his family together regardless of where we are or how much it costs. He doesn't need the drama or the revelations or the complicated family dynamics. He just needs us all in the same room celebrating another year of his life. And as I take my seat at the table, watching my family see me through completely new eyes, I realize that's exactly what tonight was always supposed to be about. Not proving anything to anyone, just celebrating the people we love exactly as they are. After we finish the cake and my dad has opened his gifts, there's this natural lull in the conversation. The kind of moment where families usually start talking about when everyone needs to head home and who's driving whom. But tonight is different. Tonight, there are questions hanging in the air that can't wait until next Sunday's family dinner. My dad is the first one to break the silence. Emma, he says, leaning back in his chair with this expression I haven't seen from him in years. I have to ask you something and I want you to be completely honest with me. Sure, Dad. What is it? How long have you been successful like this? Really successful. Not just getting by, but actually thriving. I think about how to answer that. 4 years. 5. If you count the planning stage, or maybe it goes back even further to that first promotion at Intercontinental when I realized I had a real talent for this business. Honestly, I've been building toward this since the day I graduated, but the Orion specifically has been profitable for about 3 years now. My mom shakes her head slowly. 3 years? Emma, that means you've been running a successful business for 3 years, and we had no idea. And that's when the real conversation begins. Because now we have to talk about why. I kept it private because I got tired of defending my choices, I tell them. Every family gathering, every phone call, there were these little comments about when I was going to get serious about my career, when I was going to find a stable job with benefits, when I was going to stop playing around in the hospitality industry and do something real. Claire winces. Emma, I never meant it like that. But that's how it felt, Claire. When you asked me where I was going to get $1,000 for this dinner, the implication was that I couldn't afford it. That I was in over my head trying to do something beyond my means. My dad leans forward. Honey, we were worried about you. From the outside, it looked like you were working multiple jobs and struggling to make ends meet. I was working multiple jobs, I tell him. But not because I was struggling. Because I was learning. Every job taught me something different about the industry. Every connection I made was a potential investor or business partner or mentor. Sophia, who's been discreetly managing the service throughout dinner, approaches the table with fresh coffee. Would anyone care for coffee or tea, she asks, and then adds, Ms. Walker, should I arrange for the private lounge if you'd like to continue your conversation in a more comfortable setting? This is perfect, Sophia. Thank you. But instead of leaving immediately, Sophia pauses. If I may, she says with a gentle smile, I've had the privilege of working with Ms. Walker for 2 years now, and I can tell you that what she's built here is remarkable. Not just the business success, but the culture she's created. Every employee here genuinely loves working for her. She turns to my family. You should be incredibly proud. Your daughter has created something that impacts hundreds of people's lives. Our guests, our employees, the local community. It's not just a hotel, it's a force for good in Chicago. After Sophia leaves, there's this moment of silence while everyone processes what she just said. My mom reaches across the table and takes my hand. Emma, I owe you more than an apology. I owe you recognition for what you've accomplished, despite having a family who didn't support you the way we should have. It's not that you didn't support me, I tell her. It's that you never really saw me. You saw this version of me that you created in your minds, this little sister who needed to be protected and guided and worried about. My dad nods slowly. We put you in a box, didn't we? The hospitality major. The dreamer. The one who needed practical advice. Meanwhile, Claire has been unusually quiet, but now she speaks up. Emma, can I ask you something? Why didn't you ever correct us? All those times we made assumptions or gave you unsolicited advice about money, why didn't you just tell us the truth? Because I wanted you to respect me for who I was, not what I owned, I tell her. I wanted you to believe in my capabilities before you knew about my bank account. Claire looks down at her hands. But we failed that test, didn't we? Pretty spectacularly, I admit. But here's the thing. Sitting in this room watching my family grapple with their assumptions and preconceptions, I realized something important. This isn't just about them learning to see me differently. This is about all of us learning to communicate better. You know what? The funny thing is, I tell them, I would have loved to share this journey with you. The stress of those first investor meetings, the excitement when we got our first 5-star review, the pride when Travel and Leisure featured us. I wanted to celebrate these milestones with my family. So why didn't you, my mom asks, Because I was afraid you'd find a way to diminish it, I admit. I was afraid you'd tell me I was taking too many risks, or that I should have chosen something more stable, or that I was lucky rather than talented. And that fear, that anticipation of judgment, it created this wall between us that just kept getting higher and higher. My dad reaches over and puts his hand on my shoulder. Emma, he says, his voice thick with emotion. I am so incredibly proud of what you've accomplished. Not just the business success, but the woman you've become. Strong, independent visionary. I'm proud, and I'm sorry it took this long for me to say it. And that's when I realized that tonight wasn't just about revealing a secret. It was about rebuilding trust and creating a foundation for honest communication going forward. Because this is what family should be. Not people who assume they know what's best for you, but people who ask questions and listen to answers and celebrate your successes without needing to understand every detail of how you achieve them. As we're finishing our conversation and getting ready to leave, I realize there's one more thing I want to share with my family. Something that's been on my heart for months, but I never felt like they'd understand before tonight. Actually, there's something else I want to tell you guys. I say as we're gathering our things. Something I've been working on that I think you'll find interesting. My mom looks up with this new attentiveness that wasn't there before. What is it, honey? I've been developing a program through the Orion to support underprivileged kids in Chicago. We're partnering with local schools to provide hospitality job training and mentorship for teenagers who might not otherwise have access to career opportunities in this industry. My dad's eyes light up immediately. He's always been passionate about education and helping kids, even though we never talked much about how my business could contribute to causes like that. Tell us more about that, he says, leaning forward. Well, we're starting with a summer internship program. Kids age 16 to 18 can work here part-time while learning everything from customer service to event planning to financial management. We provide them with professional clothing, transportation stipends, and college scholarship opportunities for the ones who excel. Claire, who's been listening intently, suddenly looks up. Emma, that's incredible. Do you need any legal help setting up the scholarship structure? Because I'd love to help with that pro bono. And that's when I realize we've turned a corner, not just in terms of my family understanding my success, but in terms of us finding ways to support each other's strengths. I'd love your help with that, Claire. Thank you. My mom reaches over and squeezes my arm. Emma, this is exactly the kind of thing I always hoped you'd be able to do, using your success to help others. I'm so proud of you for thinking beyond just building a business. The thing is, Mom, I've always thought this way. I just never felt like you'd be interested in hearing about it. We walk out of the Orion together, and for the first time in years, it feels like we're actually a family. Not a group of people who share DNA and holiday obligations, but people who genuinely respect and support each other. As we're saying goodbye in the parking lot, my dad pulls me aside. Emma, he says, I want you to know that tonight changed something for me. Not just about how I see your career, but about how I see you as a person. You've grown into someone I genuinely admire, and I'm sorry it took me this long to tell you that. Thanks, Dad. That means everything to me. Claire comes over as my parents are getting in their car. Hey, Em, she says, and her voice is softer than I've heard it in years. I know I've been kind of awful to you about career stuff. The truth is, I think I was jealous. You took this huge risk and built something from nothing, and here I am just following the same path everyone expected me to follow. Claire, you're an amazing attorney. You've helped so many people, and you've built a career you can be proud of. Maybe she says, but you built something that's entirely yours. That takes guts I'm not sure I have. As I'm driving home that night, I think about everything that happened. The shock on their faces when they realized I owned the hotel. The shift in how they talked to me and about me. The genuine pride in my dad's voice when he said he admired who I'd become. But mostly, I think about what this means going forward. Because tonight wasn't really about proving anything to my family. It was about creating space for honest communication and mutual respect. It was about showing them that I don't need their approval to be successful, but I do want their support and recognition for who I actually am. And here's what I learned. True respect isn't built in a night. It's not built when someone finds out how much money you make or what kind of property you own. True respect is built when they see not just your wealth, but your heart. When they understand not just what you've accomplished, but why you've accomplished it, and how you're using those accomplishments to make the world a little bit better. My family spent years seeing me as the little sister who needed guidance and protection. Tonight, they finally saw me as the woman who's been building something meaningful while they weren't paying attention. And tomorrow, we get to start building a relationship based on who we actually are instead of who we used to be. Because that's what family should be. Not people who assume they know your limitations, but people who celebrate your potential and support your dreams, even when those dreams turn out to be bigger than they ever imagined. Especially then. Sometimes, the biggest revelations happen when we stop trying to prove ourselves and start being ourselves. If you enjoyed Emma's story, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss our latest stories of family drama, unexpected twists, and life-changing moments. What would you have done in Emma's situation? Would you have revealed the truth earlier or played the long game like she did? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next story.